Okay, so this is for shin splints, and hopefully you're already working with a physical therapist, but in case you're not, I'm just gonna give you two kind of conservative approaches. Oftentimes we need to inhibit and then stretch the lower calves muscle. I'm gonna do the stretch first and then we'll inhibit it and activate your anterior tibialis and your posterior tibialis right here. So if you go into a calf stretch like this, you're gonna feel the stretch up higher in a different muscle, the gastrocnemius. So if you lean forward, right, you'll feel that nice stretch. If you keep your back heel down but bend your back knee, and this takes a little bit of practice, you'll start to feel the stretch shift a little lower. So if you notice you just can't quite bend as far this way, your heel wants to lift up, you may have some overactivity in that soleus muscle, and that can create some problems. Straight on this view, notice my back toes are not turned out. So you want your back toes to point directly forward on both of these stretches here, and then with the back knee bend here. So if you notice your knee wants to knock in, that's an indication this could be affecting your knees. If not now, then pretty soon, right? And your body's trying to work around this tight spot right up through, kind of right up through where that Achilles tendon is. Yep, so that's the static stretch. You may find it more accessible if you first inhibit with a foam roller. So I'm gonna use a basketball. You guys' metal water bottles are great for this, but basically, you're gonna just find a spot, and the key is for inhibiting the muscle to find a tight spot, and it could be anywhere. It could be higher up in the calves, right? Find a tight spot and then stay. You can put the weight of the other leg on top. With a ball like this, it may be a little too wobbly, but with some practice, you may be able to find your sweet spot. You need to stay for 30 to 90 seconds and really just don't move. You want to feel like you're digging into a kind of tight spot, right? You're looking for a portion of that muscle that contracts more than it should. It's called an adhesion. And we're looking to change the tissue. So if you hold this sustained pressure for 30 to 90 seconds, you actually can change the tissue, the connective tissue there. If you roll around, it'll feel good. You know, it might get the muscle warmed up, but it won't change the tissue. And static stretching doesn't seem to do much for that either. So this will literally inhibit the muscle. So you want to stay for a while. You can find a few spots. Typically, I'll go ahead and switch here in case you're following along. Typically, the tighter area is going to be in the lateral head here versus the medial. And again, if you find a good spot up higher in that gastrocnemius zone, that's fine too. That may be tight as well. So you look around, find a spot. Again, the metal water bottles are great. The more firm and small the curvature is on whatever you're settling into, the deeper it's gonna go. So you just find something. If you get any numbness or tingling in your feet, you may be on a nerve structure, less likely that low in the leg, but still you wanna move off of that spot. And you may have sensations that travel up behind your knee joint, where your gastrocnemius connects behind there. And you could benefit from this as well for that. Okay, so the idea is once you stay here for like 30 to 90 seconds, we're gonna go back to that static stretch, and if it just feels lighter, easier to get into, then you know that you've successfully inhibited the muscle to some degree. And this may be something you wanna do routinely, especially before you strengthen the opposing muscles that they themselves may be inhibited because these muscles are just overactive back here in the calves. Okay. So then, when you come up, right, if you go back into that stretch and you think, oh wow, like I don't feel as much tension there, then you know, okay, good, you inhibited the muscle a little bit. So once you've inhibited the overactive muscle, which we're kind of guessing generally is oftentimes that lower calves muscle, then you want to activate the opposing muscle that may be underactive. So here, the anterior tibialis is just toe raises, right? So you can tap your toe down and you'll feel kind of the shin splint area get warmed up, right? And that's the affected area. So you don't need to overdo that, but this is actually a good warm up for your shins when the tissue is healthy. Do a little toe tapping, circle your ankles, that kind of thing to warm up that area. To strengthen your tibialis, you're doing this, and then you guys have this in your warm up. You're doing your little heel walks. So once the tissue's healthy, these heel walks are great maintenance. They may be kind of painful when you actually have shin splints. The final one is the posterior tibialis exercise. So you're gonna take one of these small round bands. This was on the knee knee issues video as well, because that can affect the knees as well. So if you already know this exercise, this is it for this video. Okay, so your feet are parallel, and you can do a little tube walking side to side just to kind of get your hips fired up and ready to support. You want to make sure your knees not knocking in, but your hips, knees, and toes are all pointed directly forward with a little tension on the band. Then you're going to lift up onto your tippy toes, and you got to stay on your tippy toes the whole time. And then we're going to push the ankles out. So we're in inversion, our toes are pointed in, while we're in plantar flexion. So fancy way of saying you're on your tippy toes, and you push your ankles out. So what we're doing is we're contracting the arches, you may feel right here, up into your posterior tibialis, right, which is another deep muscle in there that can get underactive. Again, not only because you have a muscle imbalance with your calves, but also because the outer lateral heads of the calves could be more active than the medial heads of the calves as well. So notice I'm not turning my toes out. I still have my big toe on the ground. It's in my tennis shoe, but it's not lifting up, right? I'm just pushing out and holding. It's really important that as you do this, you stay on your tippy toes the whole time. So when you push out, if your heels drop down, stay up there, stay way up there. So hang on to a wall or something. And this takes a little bit of practice, right? You'll notice the muscles on the sides of the hips working as well, so you'll benefit from that. And this is going to not only kind of help support your lower leg from getting shin splints, but it'll keep your arches from collapsing in and putting pressure on your knees. That could even go into your back and that sort of thing. So just have a better foundation for landing, for all kinds of other ankle issues